Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday again. And we are looking at listings today. So I wanted to show you kind of what's happening in our local market here as far as listings. And today we're going to talk about where can you go to get more listings. Okay. Hold on, let me just see. Okay. So let's go share here. This is just on our market insights. So those of you that are part of MyBor and MyBor Central, it's just here on your sheet right here in market insights. Okay. So this is June. This is where we ended up in June. Sorry, it's on a screen above me, so I have to look up here. But here's what we're looking at right here. New listings. So luckily we're up 3.5% from last year's June, right? Which is good, but we're starting to decrease a little sooner than we usually see it. Okay, so we're decreasing 4.3%, and this is when we always start to decrease. Okay, everybody, so don't be worried about that. But it's exactly when you should also focus more on your business, right? And when you may want to get purposeful about going out and finding those listings, because here's what you know, from now till the end of the year, the listings are going to continue to decrease. Here's what it looks like year over year. This is 18. You can see every year in January, we're way down here, right? That's where we started. This is where we got to here in July. And then we're going to start our just decrease down to January. Okay. So the reason we're looking at that is because that's our seasonal trend, right? And it's more important for you now, this time of year, to go out and work on your listing strategies, right? Go and work on getting listings, how to convert listings, where to find sellers, add them to your pipeline, and all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so today I'm going to give you all sorts of ideas and conversations you can have around going out there to find listings. Okay, so in your script book, it is page 27. It's right after your new agent calls. Let me get my screens where I need them so I can see if you guys say anything. All right. So first and foremost, where do we always know we should be going to get listings, buyers, everything is our sphere, right? However, what we know is sphere is not always right now business, right? Someone may have just gotten a job offer. Something may have happened in their life to create them to need to sell quickly and need to sell now. However, your sphere are the people you should know that you can lay out for years to come in the future, right? Because you know exactly when their life might be leading them to needing to make a sale. Okay, so reaching out to your sphere quarterly, but hopefully if you're doing that and you're staying up on top of them every quarter, you already know who's going to be this quarter. If they know, you know. If they don't know, you might not know. Okay, but hopefully if they know, you know, as far as your sphere. Now let's talk about if your sphere isn't showing you where you've got listings coming up this next quarter or the end of this year. Okay, here's all the places that you can go and what you can say to them. Okay, so, sorry, I don't know why my chat is doing something weird. Are you guys saying anything to me? Okay, if you do and I don't see it, just raise your hand or come off or whatever and let me know. Okay, so absentee owners. What are absentee owners? Absentee owners are people that the tax record is being sent to a different address than the property. Okay, let me say that again. So when you go and pull the tax records, you see that the tax records for 123 Main Street, but the bill is being sent to a place in South Carolina, right? Or not 123 Main Street. It could be sent anywhere. It could be sent just up the street, but it's just not 123 Main Street. So what that tells us is the person that lives in that property is not the person who owns it. Okay, so reaching out, finding out where that homeowner is. Forewarn is probably the best for that one because you're looking all over the United States. And you're just going to call and say, I'm calling about your house on 123 Main Street. Just curious, what are your goals for that property? Have you considered selling it? Okay, they don't live in it currently. What are they doing with that property? Do they have tenants in it, right? What are their goals for that property? And would they consider selling it? Pretty easy call, right? These are good because you're not getting the people who live there. So there's typically not a lot of emotion wrapped up. Okay. So a lot of the times when people are worried about cold calling or just finding people, right, that they hadn't thought about selling maybe, and then you call and you're like, have you thought about selling? Right? Well, no, I haven't. Okay. So those are often sometimes harder calls because they live in that property. Right. But when we have the people that don't live in the property and it's truly just an investment property, we get these calls all the time on our investment properties, right? Have you thought about selling them? And there will be a day when, yes, we do. And during that week, I'm going to call all those realtors back who call us, right? We're not interested now. So those go in one ear and out the other ear. But this can be you. Okay. So you can create an entire list of people that do not live in their home currently that you can call and ask what their plans are for that residence that they own and what they're going to do with it. Okay, kind of similar, but not, but this is also going after investors. Okay, so for rent by owners, what I'm saying is go out and Google rentals available, houses for rent. Okay, and if they're for rent by owner, just like for sale by owner, and the owner's name is going to be right there in the marketing. Okay, so it's going to be, I have a property for sale. Here's my phone number. Call me if you'd like to rent it. Okay, and then here's your script. I'm a realtor, right? I saw you're looking for renters for your home. I work with many different clients and wanted to ask, what's your ideal renter? Okay, great. I'll keep an eye out for that. With home values being so inflated currently, have you considered selling that property rather than renting it? Great question, right? Everyone should be. And if not, what's going to happen? You're going to find out what they might consider to sell it. What situation might arise in either the market, in their tenants, in whatever, which is picking up a brick and putting it out in the future when they might sell this property. Okay, so really, really, really great way to increase your database, add some people to your pipeline. And if they are considering selling right now, or you could talk them into it, go ahead and set a listing consultation. Say, hey, if it'd be in your best interest to sell this now instead of re-rent it, why don't we meet? It's exactly why we should meet. Talk about your goals for this property. Okay? If you guys have questions, make sure you plop them in the chat box. Okay, circle prospecting. Circle prospecting, one house here and you call in a circle around it. What most people say is 10 on each side and 20 across the street. So it's the 40 closest doors to the property you're selling or representing a buyer or whatever. Okay. This is a great strategy because anytime a property sells, there's always 2 or 3 around it that are also going to sell. Okay. So sell scores. How many of you have heard of sell scores? Throw a digital hand up if you know what I'm talking about when I say sell scores. These sell scores are now available in list reports or real reports. Hold on, I'm going to tell you. It's property insights on my board. It's the second row, property insights on my board. So what that's going to do is sell scores are determined by big data. When you're out there and you are surfing and you're doing all your cookies and your cache and you say, yes, you can follow me on all these other places, you're also putting yourself and your information, your browsing history into an algorithm that will use that to infer what you might be looking for. Okay. So for instance, I've been looking for furniture recently for a couple different places, right? Someone might pick that up on big data and be like, oh, they're looking for furniture. They might be thinking about moving. Plus we've lived there 12 years, plus, right? Okay. So what sell scores are is they take all this big data, they go out and look at everywhere these people are surfing online, whether they're looking for houses in South Carolina and furniture in Indiana, right? And might say, ding, 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 these people might be considering selling. Okay, because everything they're looking at online puts some pieces together that tells us that. So when you see a listing, a new listing in one of your areas where you would like to sell, an area you want to farm, an area where you have a buyer need, anytime a listing goes up, go into Market Insights and pull up the sell scores, the highest sell scores around that property. Okay, now these are not foolproof. So just because it says it's a high sell score does not mean they're actually considering selling. Okay, it's just more data that might get us to, we have 40 houses. Why how might we pick the first 5 we want to reach out to make sure they're the most valuable calls? Okay, so properties around listings, go ahead and look at them, see what the closest sell scores are, and call them. Okay, ask them, calling to see when you plan to sell your home. Right? You can just go straight there if you want to. I've got buyers looking in this neighborhood, curious to know, have you thought about selling your homes? Okay, so don't overcomplicate it for yourself on this stuff. Just kind of ask them what they're doing. Okay, so if realtors are looking for homes on Zillow and other websites, I wonder if that messes up our personal sales score. You'd have to check that out and see, right? I feel like these are smart enough that it probably knows you're a realtor already. Because I will say, as realtors, we get more spam calls than anyone because our numbers are public and out there, right? So pretty much if anyone searches us, I would be surprised if they didn't, but good question. And you can definitely watch that. Okay, so circle prospecting. Here's the other thing that you can do is circle prospect around other buyer needs in your office. Okay, other buyer needs in your office. If you do not have a buyer that's looking in a particular neighborhood right now, I guarantee someone in your office does. Okay, send out an email. I'm looking for some calls to make. Who has a buyer that's looking in any specific neighborhoods? I'd be happy to start calling that neighborhood today and see if we could find a house for them. Okay, that's exactly what circle prospecting is, just picking a data point and going in a circle around it. Old expireds. There are a lot of people getting value out of these old expireds right now. Okay, so 2 strategies. New expireds are the ones that expire, right? Every day. You get a list every morning and you call them, hey, did you know your property expired? These are properties that expired maybe 6 months ago and never relisted. Okay, so you want to go back and look at your expireds that either never sold or never relisted and find out, give them a call, right? And find out, why were you listed? Where were you gonna go when you were listed? And are you still interested in selling? And maybe I can help you this time around actually get it sold. Okay, so these are people that tried to maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, did not have success and have decided not to revisit it. Good time to call them. They probably got hounded the first couple days it went off the market, right? But now that you're 6 months out, nobody's calling them anymore. Okay, so a really great place to start and ask, have they thought about selling their home? Would they like to take advantage of this market? Can you introduce them to what you do to sell homes? Okay. All right, checking my chat box, giving myself a breath. All right, listings around homes you've sold in the past. How many of you have sold a house? Okay, if you have sold any house in the last 12 months, you could even be longer, right? It does not even matter. You can call other homeowners around that as well. I was calling because I sold the house at this last year and they had unbelievable success. I was curious, when were you thinking about selling your home? Okay, just ask them, right? Again, we're not selling anything to them. They haven't thought about it. They haven't thought about it. Nothing we can do. Don't be attached to the outcome. We're just trying to meet people, try to find people that we do not know and find listings we may not know about to build our listing pipeline. Okay, so go back to neighborhoods you love that you either represented a buyer or represented a seller in that neighborhood and call those neighborhoods with past information. Older new construction neighborhoods. This is a gold mine. Okay, when a neighborhood is about 5 to 7 years old, it's just finishing or just finished, they likely do not have a realtor yet that owns that neighborhood insofar as farming it. Okay, also a high percentage of those people did not use a realtor when they purchased the property. They went directly to the builder. So they may not have a relationship with the builder or with the realtor yet. Okay, that is your goal. When you have a real estate question, who do you go to? Right? So you want to get to know those people in those new construction neighborhoods that are just finishing up. Okay, so go back and search houses that are 5 to 7 years old. Look at that neighborhood. Look if there's any realtor that's really running that neighborhood yet. And remember, listen to our conversation last week on the percentages you can expect to get even when you own the neighborhood. Okay. And then you can build a great relationship with a new construction neighborhood that is just finishing up. Okay. Your current farm. Okay, your current farm should look just like your sphere. In the fact that if you know your farm well enough, you should be able to lay all those houses out in a path for when you think they might likely sell that property next. Okay, so your farm is the same thing. Whether you live there, whether you're farming an area that you sell in a lot, it doesn't matter. You've got to be calling all of those people quarterly. Between your farm and your sphere, quarterly, you should have those scheduled calls to touch base with every single person in both of those sections. Okay. And then, of course, there are all sorts of things you can do with social media, with your online presence, with a mailer, and really create an event to meet sellers. Okay. So selling, because the market's shifting, selling can be more challenging than ever. Sellers are more questionable now about what they should do to sell their property, how much they can get for it, right? Who do you know that's thought about selling their property in the next 3 months? And should I be introduced to them to start having that conversation with them? Okay, so you can most definitely create an event of some kind saying, hey, introduce me to sellers and I'll give you this. I'll enter you into a drawing. I'll do whatever. Okay, but you can have an introduce me to sellers contest. Okay, some ideas in here of how to do that. And then we need homes. Okay, listing inventory is going down. We need homes to sell. I've got a huge list of buyers, right, that want to be matched up with houses. Who do you know that's needing to sell? Okay, so then you could actually create yourself a purposeful campaign to go out and find sellers. Okay, so what questions do you have about that? Or what strategy do you like the best from that list? If you were to pick one of those and say, I'm going to put my head down today and for the next 3 days, going to go try to really find some sellers, which is the one you might use for that? I'm going to share it so you guys can have them in front of you again. Which do you like? Which could you pick up the phone today and start making some calls about? Connie, you're the only one I see. Did you have one you liked?
Well, I would think that there's a lot of agents that are calling for sale by owners and expireds. And although those people are ready to go now, they're probably tired of being called. So I would think you would want to do
Potentially.
like, hmm?
Potentially.
Yeah,
There's great strategy in for sale by owners and expired. So, and
yeah,
those are a whole separate one, which is why I kept them separate from
right.
this. But
But I
yeah,
would
I
think
mean,
like the old expireds are probably a good one, or
yep.
the circle prospecting. But to me, that would be like future business. So,
Potentially.
mhm,
Yeah. So the intention of the circle prospecting is that when someone sells, others are going to sell around it. They always do. 3 to 5
mhm,
houses, right? So it's going to find those 3 to 5 that are going to sell soon.
mm,
Okay, does that make sense? So that's what, when you're picking around a house that listed, that's that strategy. You're
right.
exactly correct. If you're calling without a high sell score, they could be farther out. Those high sell scores are the only way that they're going to guide you as to whether they're going to be looking to sell sooner or later.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, anything else or any other questions? And then I'll show you some other things in the script book that you might need when you are doing this process. Okay. Okay, so if you are going today and you're going to start calling, all right, what do you need to have in front of you? I'm going to take you to the table of contents here. And let's talk about what tools you need to have in front of you to make sure you've got a spot that empowers you to be able to do this process without any questions. Okay, so number one, get your script out. Have your have your conversation that you're going to have, your questions that you're going to ask. Okay, so have that page 26 out in front of you so you know who you're calling and what you're going to say. Okay, the second thing you have got to have on you is your pre-listing qualifications for buyers and sellers. Your pre-qual question for buyers, pre-qual question for sellers. That's page 33 and 51. every time you're doing any sort of conversations, you need to have those out. Those are the questions to ask. If you have no idea where your conversation's going, go to one of those questions on that sheet and it will guide you right through there. Okay, so make sure you have those too. The other one you may want to have is talking about your personal value. So talk about the market, that's in each second section, and your personal value. That's on page 29. Okay, because the whole intention of this is to find people that you can be their go-to agent, right? That's a super easy one to ask. Who, when you have a real estate question, who's your go-to, right? So ask those go-to questions and tell them what kind of value you might have to them, whether they're buying or selling. Okay, so that's what those scripts are for. So let's go through that again. You need your conversation script, the script you're going to start with. You need your pre-qual questions. Okay, get your pre-qual questions for buyers and sellers out. Print out or mark the your personal value sheet and how to talk about the market. Okay, if you have those 4 things in front of you, you can make any calls in any of this book and feel like you're empowered with the questions you need to be able to ask to have a really great, powerful conversation. Okay? All right, I'm going to stop share. That was a lot of information pretty quickly. And I'll open up the chat box. What questions or comments do you have, or what role play would you like to do on any of these?
Just an FYI, the table of contents is different than your table of contents that you showed.
Thank you. I probably have a different script book open. So follow the one that you have. Okay. When you open your script book, follow the one you have. Okay, because it matches the pages in your script book. Thank you. Mm-hmm. All right. And then before you guys hop off, I'm going to give you some extra time this morning. I think we all can use it in the summer. Leave me anything you would like to talk about. I'll actually put the table of contents back up on the screen so you can see the topics. And if there's anything on here you specifically want to talk about, want to role play, want to learn how to have that conversation, throw it in here and we'll do it over the next couple weeks. I'll stick around for any questions or personal coaching you need. Otherwise, I will see you all next week.